And, of course that's true for anyone. It's like, even if you don't love what you initially put down, it gives you something to work with. And then you can manipulate and rearrange and pick out the sentence that's amazing. And, you have something to work with, and that helps too.
Absolutely.
Another technique from my English teacher days that's very helpful is to take, if you have a book that you love or an author that you love, or maybe you don't, but just get a book, that'll work too. But just open it up somewhere, and you're reading with just the goal to find a sentence that you really like. So especially if it's an author you already like or a book you already like, it's not going to take you that long, right? Find a sentence that you like and then emulate it. So, use your own verbs, your own adjectives, what have you, but use that same sentence form and just create your own sentence that would work for your writing. One of the things I love about this, kids love it because you guarantee that you're going to write a really good sentence because you use the base of a really good sentence. And so then you're like, dang, look at that good sentence. You know it's good. But it also can kind of inspire you, right? It's a different way of approaching something, maybe a different way of stringing your language together that can just kind of open up your brain a little bit and get you thinking a little more creatively.
I like that one. Remember that.
Yes. Yes.
Now I know writing has helped you with something you have to deal with, which is PCOS. What is that exactly?
Yeah, so PCOS stands for Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, which is an unfortunate and misleading name because it's essentially a female health issue that has to do with your hormone levels. And because of different imbalances with estrogen and progesterone, your body isn't processing insulin correctly. And it has a variety of symptoms such as weight gain, hair growth, and some women have cysts on their ovaries. So it's named Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome because the cysts are something visible and tangible as a symptom, but you don't have to even have the cysts to have PCOS. And for a lot of women who are of age to try and, kind of be starting a family, a huge issue with it is infertility, because it does give you irregularities with your cycle, difficulties with ovulation, because of the weight gain associated with your body not handling insulin correctly. That also impacts fertility. So there's just a lot of different kind of pieces to it. And then, a lot of health needs that are specific to women just don't have a lot of research, a lot of science. And so it ends up being a lot of like, hey, give this a try, give that a try, see what happens on this. And there's just not a lot of, really, really strong evidence-based protocols for handling it. And of course, some of that's just because hormones are very hard to regulate, and every person, they have different levels, and, everything can be a little different. So for me personally, my husband and I have been kind of in the whole infertility ringer for the last 4 to 5 years. And, that has, is a whole emotional kind of minefield of its own. And as someone who's kind of had issues with depression and anxiety, certainly something like PCOS and the hormonal imbalances, and then infertility and the ongoing kind of emotional ups and downs of that are just can be a lot to process. And so last year, maybe a year and a half ago, I was doing some personal writing that actually started focused more back on kind of the extreme depression I had gone through as a teenager, and then kind of shifted more so towards infertility. And so I ended up writing a piece on infertility that just came from a very personal place. And I think when I feel vulnerable about something, I'm processing something, I tend to pull back a little to that more academic type of writing. Here are the facts and figures on polycystic ovarian syndrome. Like I'm very good at that.
Okay.
And, for me anyways, it's easier to look back at something in the past, like a severe depression that I'm no longer in, and then like write about that from a very honest place, because I feel like I've processed it. It's harder with something like infertility that it doesn't have, there's not like an end to that story. Like I don't have children. So it's not like tied up in a nice bow. It's not like a hard thing that has now been fixed. It's just ongoing, and it's hard and it's difficult. And like, that's part of my life right now and might be for a long time. There's really no end date on it, which I think is difficult too. And so anyways, I wrote a piece on that, and an excerpt of it was picked up from a magazine, Ruminate. And then I actually had the entire piece published on a blog specific to infertility. And I've just had so many women who have just shared with me, like, when they read it, like, it was very emotional. A lot of people cry when they read it, and even just people who know me. But so many people have just felt like it was such a reflection of either something they've experienced, or it helped them understand kind of the heart and emotions and struggle of someone that they know who has dealt with infertility or is currently dealing with infertility. And I think it was just a really emotional piece to write. And I always read my writing out loud, because I think it's very helpful to hear the delivery of it. And so I always read my writing out loud. And that one like took me a while, because I would always like break down, like crying at some point of it. So it took me a while to be able to read it out loud, even just to myself. So it's very emotional for me to write. But ultimately, like it did connect with other people, which of course is rewarding. But I think it was really good for me in like a healing, processing, it's not fixed, but I can still explore it as a writer or in a creative way. And I parts of it are very metaphorical, like it's a very far cry from my kind of more formal writing style. And yeah, I think I would definitely encourage people to give a shot at writing about something that's really hard right now, as opposed to, like processing that old thing from the past, like, because it's a very different experience to dig into something that is right now happening, kind of that messy ball of who knows what that you can't see the end point. Because of course, as writers, our work culminates in an end point, right? Getting in the middle and end, and like, and we get annoyed at writers who don't tie things up for us in some way at the end. And some people love the cliffhanger. I don't love the cliffhanger. It drives me crazy. I remember in school there was the story of the lady and the tiger. I don't know if you're not. Essentially, this man, the princess falls in love with a man. The king finds out. He puts the guy in the ring, and there's two doors. Behind one door is a tiger who will kill and eat this man. Behind the other door is a beautiful maiden who he will immediately marry. And the man goes into the ring, and he looks up at the princess, who had been his illicit, love affair. And she nods towards the door. He goes to it and opens it, and this story is done. And so you don't know, you don't know, did she love him so much that she let him marry the woman, or was she jealous enough that she couldn't bear to see him marry this gorgeous woman in front of her eye? You don't know. That sort of thing drives me crazy. But I mean, my fertility story was not dealing with a lion or a beautiful maiden, but that idea of it gets to the end and there's not really an end. It's just still a hard thing. But still,
it's good that you had your writing as a way to process this. I mean, if you didn't have your writing, it'd probably be more difficult. At least you had this creative outlet, and you helped other people.
Yes.
So how did you get into being a virtual assistant coach?
So I got a virtual assistant coach, and then I am a virtual assistant now.
Ah, what made you want to get one?
Yeah, so I was teaching, knew that I wanted to be done teaching, and I was planning to be done this summer, and then we ended up just kind of moving a little bit unexpectedly. So my options were to just go into a classroom here in Arizona, and I did transfer my license over, or to do something else. And I really had just been processing a lot. Like, I knew I wanted to leave teaching, so, like, what does that mean? Like, what am I going to do? And kind of my two big things that I kept coming back to is that I really value autonomy. Like, I need freedom. I like to make my own schedule, and I'm responsible. I get stuff done. It's not like I just want to lay around on the couch, but, like, I just, like, need freedom to kind of make choices that are going to be a good fit for me and do my day the way that would work for me. And then I really value creativity and wanting an opportunity to be more creative. And it felt like virtual assisting would give me that opportunity to kind of have the freedom to make my own schedule and my own days, and then also have a chance to be more creative. And so I decided just to dive into that. And it was something where it's like, I need this to work, and I need it to, like, happen. Like, not like I'm trying to do it on the side as I'm also working full time, because, like, I don't have a job right now. So I just wanted to kind of accelerate the process and not spend, like, 6 months trying to, like, figure out what you're supposed to do. So I joined the program, and, like, so much support and training, and, you know, there's so many tools that entrepreneurs use, you know, even when it just comes to, like, your email provider, like ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit or MailChimp. Like, they're all different, and they run different, and they do similar things, but you know, so even just having all of the trainings on these different systems, having the support, the coaching, we had coaching calls every week. And then so many of the processes and systems were already set up. Like, okay, here's how you would walk through a discovery call. If somebody hires you, like, here's what your service agreement would look like. Here's pricing and rates. Like, just how you do kind of all of the business side of things. Like, could I have figured that out alone? Yes. Do I want my actual live clients to be like guinea pigs while I try to work it out? No. So I really valued having all of the processes, the coaching, the training, where I could just sit down and do it. And I think that was, for me, very helpful in being able to kind of legitimately start as a business and be able to replace my teaching income.
So how has it been working as a VA?
Yeah, I have loved it. I have 4 kind of ongoing, like, regular independent clients that have a variety of different businesses. Good. So I do a lot of writing, social media management, group management, email sequences, and then I also work for a actual agency, a marketing agency, and I handle copywriting for them. Mm-hmm. So that's fun because they have a lot of clients, and so it's always variety. You know, when I log into their, like, who I'm writing for, what I'm writing, and I do some of the copy editing, which I like editing, and then I also write from scratch. So lots of variety, lots of autonomy. You know, I don't have, like, other than, like, literally one weekly call that always happens at the same time, everything is pretty much just fair game as far as, like, how my days look. So, which the transition at the beginning, you know, was a little tricky. But I finally found, for me, what works the best is thinking like a lawyer. Like, lawyer at law firms, it's, like, all about, like, the billable hours, right? Like, it doesn't matter how long you're in the building. It matters, like, how many hours you build. And so I just kind of had to get my mind around, like, okay, you know, interacting with people in Facebook groups or looking for jobs or connecting, or these opportunities are, like, wonderful things, but they're not billable hours. And, like, for my business to work, like, I have to, so, like, I just had to sit down and be like, if I have these clients, I have this going on, I need to make this income. Like, how many hours per day have to be like billable